Hall on the campus of the University of Illinois is the site today for men's gymnastics on BTN as the third-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes pay a visit to the 8th-ranked Fighting Illini of Illinois. Take a look at the top 10 nationally, and all 7 programs in the Big Ten reside in that top 10. Ohio State at 3 and Illinois at 8. Michigan is the top Big Ten team in the number 2 spot. Hello, everyone. I am Mike Wolf alongside 3-time Olympian John Roethlisberger. And, John, we talk about the Big Ten being the dominant conference in men's gymnastics. That's the case again this year. It should be a great season to watch here on BTN.
Absolutely, Mike. The Big Ten, once again, is the epicenter of men's collegiate gymnastics. And today we have 2 teams, Illinois and Ohio State, that didn't really contend at the end of the year last year. But Justin Spring's Illini, the biggest reason they weren't in contention is because of injuries. The year before last, they were the Big Ten and NCAA champions. And I think if they can stay healthy, they will be back in the hunt again this year. Rustam Sharapov, in my opinion, for the first time in his 3 years, has a team with his signature on it. They bought into a system, and they think they can fight for a Big Ten championship as well.
Well, John, you mentioned injuries, and C.J. Maestas, the 2012 Big Ten Gymnast of the Year, missed all of 2013 with a tricep injury. He is back, and the Illini are looking forward to see what he can do once he gets back in the all-around.
Yeah, that was really a disappointment, not just for the Illini, but for gymnastics fans in general. C.J. Maestas, one of the most exciting gymnasts in the entire nation. I think if Illinois is going to contend for an NCAA and Big Ten title, they need this guy to be healthy. He is unbelievable. Ohio State, they have got a lot of great individuals, but really the story for them is a freshman class that is tough. And one of their best, Jake Dastrup, that underclass right there is going to lead the Ohio State Buckeyes, I think, into contention at the end of the year.
Well, coming up on BTN, the first rotation between Ohio State and Illinois. Both teams will start on the floor. That's next on BTN. Welcome back to Champaign, Illinois, and Huff Hall almost set for men's gymnastics here on BTN between Ohio State and Illinois. Mike Wolf alongside John Roethlisberger. Take a look at the series history between these two. The Illini lead the all-time series 105-80 with 4 ties. The last meeting was decided by less than a point a year ago in Columbus, Ohio. We take a look at the lineup on the floor for the Fighting Illini: Rogers, Smith, Varga, Hartville, Maestas, and Eggleston.
And Eggleston, the freshman, coming off a win at the Windy City Championship, so watch him.
And then for the Ohio State Buckeyes, Melander will start things off. Freshman Danny Steiner will close things out.
A great lineup for Ohio State. Brandon Jones, a very springy individual. Keep an eye out for Brandon.
On the floor to start off this meet, Cameron Rogers, a senior out of Charlotte, North Carolina, doing the all-around today. His first time since February of 2011 competing in the all-around.
And as we always talk about on floor, it's the landings are so key. There's so many tumbling passes in men's gymnastics now. The guys will get out there, do 5, 6, sometimes even more tumbling passes. That means a lot of landings. And when you have a lot of landings, that means potentially a lot of deductions. So you got to land clean. So far, a little bit sloppy for Cameron, but he's staying on his feet. And again, that's the key early in the lineup. You just want to get some hit routines, get some decent scores to build upon, and hope that your guys later in the lineup can knock it out of the park. Oh, a tough Arabian double dismount. Little low on the landing. Might have scraped the hiney on the ground a little bit there, but I think he got away with it.
John, what's the mindset when Cameron has a long day ahead of him in the all-around?
You just got to take one step at a time, not get too high or too low. Here's the dismount. You be the judge. I think he cleared it. I don't think he touched down, took a bit of a step, but a good start for the Illini.
Rogers starting things off for Illinois. Logan Melander, a freshman out of Tacoma, Washington. He will start things off for the Buckeyes. He was second best for Ohio State last week with a 14.3 on the floor.
Oh, another Arabian double. We just saw that from Cameron Rogers as a dismount. Logan does it as a mount. Unfortunately, putting his hands down is going to cost him. Gymnastics score is a combination of the difficulty that the gymnast does, which is a collection of the values of the skills on that routine, minus the execution deduction. So like when Logan put his hands down right there, that's going to be a large deduction, probably 5 to 1 point, possibly even, for putting his hands down. Logan does not have a very high start value. It's supposed to be about a 15.3. So having mistakes is going to hurt him. You want to hit clean. If you don't have a high start value, you have to at least hit a clean set.
Logan, one of 4 freshmen, as you talked about, John, earlier, to compete last week for Ohio State in the Windy City Invite. Freshman making an impact for the Buckeyes.
The rest of the routine was great. Man, he's going to be kicking himself for that mount, because I know that is a mount that he can do very easily. Here's another look at it. Does it right out of the round off. Just hangs onto the tuck, and that's one of those tough landings. When you're landing forward like that, you don't see the ground until the last second, and that's unfortunate. Very easy skill for him. He clearly is in command of that Arabian double, but just a little too much juice.
From freshman to freshman is Taylor Smith up next on the floor for Illinois. Out of Indianapolis, Indiana, the second meet of his collegiate career. In his first, he had a 12.7 on the floor. That was against UIC.
There's another Arabian double, and this time comes up a little short. Oh, he's got to hold that. You cannot give away the easy stuff, and the press handstand is considered part of the easy stuff. Can't give that away. Nice triple twist. Bouncing around a little bit. Might be those freshman jitters. Finishes it with a double twist. So the Arabian double has proven to be the challenging skill early in this competition. Another look at the first pass. And I don't know if you watched Logan do his and thought, man, I better open up and look for the ground when I do that or not. But he just opened up a little early, and the ground was just a little too close.
We will have the score for Taylor Smith in a few moments. Emmerich Quaid now on the floor for Ohio State. Earlier, Cameron Rogers, 14.15. Melander with a 13.3 for Ohio State.
Double twisting front to a punch front full. Those combination passes, you see a lot of them, but don't let that fool you. They are not easy. There's another Arabian double, this time done in the pike position.
Second year in the program for Emmerich, a redshirt freshman, OSU scholar athlete a year ago, and in his first collegiate meet had a 12.2 on the floor.
And we saw another press to a wide arm handstand. He had a lot of trouble with that. And I'm not sure he did another press right after that, and I think he may have added that in simply because he missed the first one. That's not completely unheard of for a gymnast to throw something else in there if they made a mistake. And another double twist dismount. Fairly easy dismount, but you saw him stick that landing, and that's so important, especially because these gymnasts, they get bonus points if they stick those dismounts. So for a C dismount, that skill right there is valued at a C. He gets a 1/10 bonus. If you do a D dismount, which obviously is more difficult, or an E dismount, which is even more difficult, you get 2/10 bonus.
Third up for Illinois, Alex Varga. Last year at the championships, the Big Ten championships, Alex Varga on the floor. Junior a season ago, senior this year. Put together a memorable routine. And Alex Varga out of Glen Ellen, Illinois, now up next on the floor for the Illini. And John, we talked last year a lot about the 5-up, 5-count scenario in men's gymnastics. To start off this year back to a 6-up, 5-count, getting teams to get back into the flow of things before they go up to 5 only on the floor, on the apparatuses to count their scores.
Yeah, once you get to championship time, it's 5-up, 5-count. But early in the season, it gives other guys opportunity to get out on the floor. That's one extra spot for guys to compete on each event, which is huge. You know, these guys they're still getting into form, rounding out into competitive shape, and they're going to peak for the end of the season. So for the coaches and for the athletes, it gives them an opportunity to kind of kick that rust off a little bit.
What we saw a moment ago for Varga was a 15.4 in the Big Ten championships last season. We'll see if he can reach that mark again.
Score in the 15s on floor is a very good score, so that 15.4 would be a nice target for him. Going to be tough. He shows a start value of about 15.6, which means he basically has to be perfect. And again, that is the third time early in this competition where we have seen gymnasts make mistakes on easy skills. He was supposed to hold that wide arm handstand. That's how it's supposed to be done.
Varga had 8 top 5 finishes a year ago on the floor. He may have another with that last routine.
There's the side pass, a whip into an Arabian. Very simple, but done well. And here's the wide arm handstand that he went into. Here's the dismount, Arabian double. Just like the Big Ten championships, Mike.
Couple score updates for you. Taylor Smith of Illinois, 13.05. Emmerich Quaid for Ohio State, 13.35. And we'll have the score for Alex Varga momentarily, as up next on the floor is Brandon Jones, the senior out of Windsor Mills, Maryland, for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Competed in 2 events last week, did not hit either routine, but a year ago in the Windy City Invite, he had a 14.7 on the floor.
And as I mentioned, as we came into this event, he's a fun guy to watch. Now the start values take a little bit of an uptick. He starts over a 16 and a 16.1. And that's a big reason why. That was gigantic Arabian pike double front. I am not sure how he pulled that off. Tough combination. He was a little off going into the punch front out of that skill, but managed to keep it on his feet. It looked like he was very close to that sideline. I believe he did go out. That would be 1/10 of a point. And there again, you can see his left heel. And I do not know if the judges could see that or not, but that should be another 10th deduction. Double twist in front. Good routine for Ohio State. They needed that one. The first couple were a little bit rough. This one should score well. Take a look at this, Mike. I could stand under this, I guarantee you. He could do that right over the top of me. And there, look at his left foot. You're definitely out. When he has that extra crash mat in there, that is legal, but his foot clearly going out of bounds there. And this is one of those giving away a freebie right there, although I do not think the judges saw that.
Next on the floor, Fred Hartville, the sophomore out of Atlanta for the Illini.
Another guy who's so much fun to watch in this event. Actually has the same potential start value that we just saw from Brandon Jones, a 16.1.
We will see Hartville later on this afternoon on the vault. The NCAA champion on vault a year ago, but certainly has a lot of success on the floor as well a season ago.
Fred is a great kid. He's fun to talk to. He always seems to have a smile on his face and just seems to love the sport of gymnastics. Has fun doing it. Plays gymnastics. And here's what I'm talking about. A lot of tumbling passes. He is going 100 miles an hour through this routine, trying to cram in as much difficulty as he can. It's going to be another triple twist. 1, 2, 3. Not bad. Big step on the landing. Probably a 310 step. But trying to go toe-to-toe with that routine Brandon Jones just put up.
And Brandon Jones, as you talked about, a 14.5 for Ohio State's Brandon Jones, the best score so far on the floor.
There's the dismount, triple full. Just needed to open up out of that, see the ground a little sooner, bend those knees, and just might have stuck that landing. Nice job, Fred.
Jake Dastrup up next on the floor for the Buckeyes. 5'3" freshman out of Utah. One quick score before Jake starts, 13.85 for Alex Varga of Illinois a few moments ago.
Tough combination right there. And watch this. This is huge. Almost in the stretch position. We just saw his teammate Brandon do that. I swear he could do that stretch. That was beautiful. Oh!
Jake did have the best score of any Buckeye last week with a 14.35 on the floor, but we'll see what the score will be this afternoon.
Yeah, had a little mistake on that combination pass. The first two passes outstanding. Should have the highest start value of any Buckeye on this event today. Laid out Thomas, 1.5 twisting 1 and 3 was his last pass right there. Taking that courtesy breath in the corner. Full in dismount. Living up to the billing, Mike. We talked about him in the open for a reason, and that floor set, other than that one mistake on the combination pass, was outstanding. And here's the Arabian pike double front. Very open pike. Be surprised if he's not working an Arabian laid out double front, and I'm guessing Brandon Jones, his teammate, is as well.
Take a look at the scores of the first 6 gymnasts on the floor, and you see the best scores. Illinois, Cameron Rogers, the very first routine, the 14.15. And Fred Hartville, you don't see right there, 14.55 out there as well. So 2 scores over 14 so far for the Illini. And up next, CJ Maestas. Great to see him back out there. His first meet last week was his first since the 2012 NCAA championships.
Yeah, and this recovery from the tricep injury has really been, it's been tough. And I talked to Justin Spring a little bit about it. I talked to CJ about it as well. And CJ is the type of guy that he's so physically strong, and gymnastics, compared to most people, comes very easy for him. So to take away that asset he has, that strength with that tricep injury, it made things come a little tougher, and he's really had to dig deep, and really it's been a character builder for him. But I'm proud of CJ, and I know he is too as he gets through this. I think he's going to be better for it, believe it or not. Beautiful start, double twisting, double back.
Second place finish for CJ last week at Windy City, which included 5 Big Ten teams. He had a 15.0 on the floor.
He's so physically strong and also quick. Quickness is so important in gymnastics for obvious reasons, like that. 2.5 twist punch, Branny. You've got to be cat-like if you're going to be good at this sport.
John, we talked about CJ trying to work back to the all-around, and he wants to get there, adding the parallel bars this afternoon, but also he wants to get back to the all-around. What does it do to an individual gymnast to have that kind of tricep injury? What routines does it affect the most?
Well, honestly, Mike, as he does another beautiful pass right there, it affects everything. You don't realize the muscles you use in gymnastics until you have to take one away. Another full-in dismount. That routine was stacked. It's a tough call. You know, parallel bars obviously is a big one. But again, like I said, you use muscles you didn't know you had in this sport, and I'm sure he's learned that throughout this injury. Look at this mount. 2 flips and 2 twists. Count them. 1, 2, 1, 2. Beautiful. And this is what I'm talking about, this strength. You need to iron a shirt. Just get it out right now. Throw it on the Maestas ironing board. That is so hard, even though he makes it look easy.
CJ Maestas likely adding another score over 14 for the Illini. Could be up at 15. Alex Johnson next for Ohio State, sophomore out of Ohio. Did 3 of 4 routines last week for the Buckeyes.
Oh, both feet out. That is going to be a 3/10 deduction. Very unfortunate. That rollout skill, Arabian 1 3/4, those are the skills you don't want to take any landing deductions on. You don't land on your feet, you roll out. So the gymnast should avoid those landing deductions. Unfortunately there, he had a significant one on that mount. Okay, this needs to be held. You count it, 1, 2 seconds. Much better than we saw earlier in this rotation. Wow, and that was, I don't know how he found his feet. Talk about cat-like reflexes. That was impressive that he didn't touch down. Two and a half twisting dismount. We saw a big step there. Not bad, a good fight. You know, he had some big breaks, had some mistakes, but he battled through that routine, trying to minimize each error. And here's a look at the mount. A little formy in the air, and you do not want to do that on a rollout skill. And there's the skill that I talked about. I do not know how he stayed on his feet. That entire flip, I believe, was below his shoulder height, but managed to stay upright.
Wait on the score for Alex Johnson. He gets a few words from his head coach, Rustam Sharapov of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Earlier, Jake Dastrup, a 14.45 for Ohio State. And CJ Maestas of Illinois, 14.65 for the Illini. And closing out the floor for Illinois, Chandler Eggleston, the freshman, two-time Big Ten Freshman of the Week. There's only been 2 weeks in the season so far, John. He's won the Big Ten Freshman of the Week each one of those.
That's impressive. He's setting the bar high for himself, man. I mean, you can only go down from there, right?
Chandler's ranked 4th in the nation on the floor.
Another big skill. We saw CJ do it moments ago. Beautiful. Double twist and double back again. Nicely done.
Mentioned those 2 weeks for Illinois. Only 2 meets at UIC Windy City. Chandler won the floor exercise title at both of them.
And so far, this routine looks like another individual event title. If he can finish the way he started. He landed kind of close to us, Mike. I don't know if you felt that floor. Felt like an earthquake in Champaign. That's going to be tough to beat. He does big skills, and he does them clean. What a great catch for Coach Justin Spring in the Illini. This kid is legit.
John, you be the judge. Where are you finding deductions in that routine?
Really, it's a few little landing deductions here and there. You know, there's a few big skills like the double twist and double back we saw. Took a hop on that, took a hop on the dismount, but overall, probably the cleanest routine we've seen today.
Danny Steiner, the final routine coming up on the floor at the Big Ten Championships a year ago. Finished second at 15.475 for Steiner. He is a 2-time floor exercise All-American.
See if we can see that stuck triple twist again here today. Beautiful. Front double twist to a punch branding. We've seen that done a lot today, but we've not seen it done cleaner than that. Another stuck landing.
Steiner's first meet of the season, did not compete at Windy City.
he is a machine on these landings. I have not seen a step on a landing yet. His start value is a little bit lower than Chandler Eggleston's from Illinois. 2.5 twists, not so fast. Daniel Steiner says, I want that floor title on this dual meet. We'll see if that was enough. Very clean. Really, it's going to come down to whether or not his start value is enough to overtake Chandler Eggleston's score on this event, because it should be a big one.
Eggleston with a 15.2. That's a personal best for him, but can Steiner overtake him? We'll find out the score for Danny Steiner when we return. Ohio State and Illinois done with the first rotation. They'll head to the Pommel Horse when we return to Huff Hall. Ohio State and Illinois facing off.
Due to time constraints, we now move ahead in the action.
What's impressive about that Newberger score is we saw some great routines from Illinois and Pommel Horse. The closest guy was almost a 1.5 points behind him. That's amazing.
Tom Gibbs up for the Fighting Illini. Gibbs was going to do the all-around today, decided not to, the freshman from London.
Yeah, great story. Contacted the coaching staff here at Illinois and inquired about coming on the team. They didn't have any scholarship money for him, but he liked the engineering program and ends up contacting him a few months later and says, hey, I'm coming. And he's been a great find. He's been kind of a gift showing up at the doorstep for the Illini and Coach Justin Spring.
See the team overall score once again, and mentioned Tom Gibbs dealing with a bit of a bruised heel. See if it affects him on his dismount. Not at all.
And he is a tough kid, Mike. He's a hard worker, and the coaching staff describes him as just, he's a hard-nosed, tough kid. Came back from a brutal wipeout on the rings of all events. Had a bad head landing, I guess you could call it, but he's back and he's going at it again. Here's the dismount. Nails it.
Coaching staff for the Fighting Illini said that they thought he might have broken his neck. Went to the hospital, but after about 6 hours, just walked out and said he was fine.
With a smile on his face, I think is what they said.
So we'll see more of Tom Gibbs, not doing the all-around, but still going to be involved throughout this meet. Misha Kudinov up next for Ohio State. Last week, he tied or set a career high in 3 of 4 events, including the still rings, when he had a 14.45.
And Misha is really one of the older guys on this team that, we talked about the freshman class, but he's one of the older guys that need to provide some leadership as well. Capable of some very good gymnastics. Got a little bit of swing going in the rings. That's not too bad, but once you get a little swing, you got to be careful it doesn't turn into a lot of swing. It's called the still rings for a reason. Got to keep them still. Another stuck dismount. Full twist and double layout. A little piked in the air, but it should get a D value. One of the more difficult dismounts being done on rings. Overall, a great routine for Misha Kudinov. There's another look at it. That should be also a 2/10 bonus for that stuck landing.
Stuck landing is important for Ohio State, according to Rustam Sharapov. Important for all teams, but after last week, they wanted to work on the landings. Seems like they've improved here on the still rings after a couple gymnasts up so far for Rustam Sharapov. Max Mayer, the sophomore from Miami, up next on the rings for the Illini. Competing in 3 different events. This is his first. He'll be on the parallel bars and the high bar later in this meet.
Nice back up rise to inverted cross. Those shoulders are actually supposed to be basically horizontal. Pretty good, but should get down there just a little bit more. Nice Yama walking sequence to a back up rise straddle plunge, that's called. Double twist and double back. Also a very tough dismount. Don't get the stuck landing. But not bad from Max Mayer.
Max Mayer, part of the Illini team that ranks 7th in the nation on the rings. Ohio State is 5th. Take a look at the reaction from head coach Justin Spring.
He likes it. It's funny, as a coach or anybody who used to do gymnastics and you're pulling for someone who's still doing it, you find yourself doing it with them. You can see Justin's body movements, and he's up there with them.
Justin Spring, a 3-time Big Ten Coach of the Year, National Coach of the Year when he took the Illini to the national championship victory in 2012. Alex Johnson now up on the rings for Ohio State.
Looking at the start values for these two teams coming into the still rings, pretty even up until the very last routine. Illinois takes a little bit of an edge in the start values. We talked about it on horse. Ohio State had a big advantage this event. Illinois has a slight advantage. Pike double front. Nice. A very tough dismount to stick. I'm very impressed. We've seen a lot of stuck landings in today's competition. That, again, is going to be worth a nice little bonus. Take a look at this. Pike double front opens up. Again, you don't see the ground until the very last second. I think he's happy.
Another stuck landing for Ohio State. But moments ago, we had a chance to talk with Justin Spring of Illinois. Catch up with Justin a bit later. Is now on the still rings Cameron Rogers for the Fighting Illini. 6 top 5 finishes on rings last year for Illinois.
Saw Cameron fight through that horse routine in the last rotation. And rings really an event where you can show off that strength. And another stuck dismount, a little bit easier dismount, just a full twisting double back, but again, getting that 10th bonus.
Keep an eye on the all-around as well, that score for Cameron Rogers.
Yeah, really both of these teams, as we look at the dismount right there, again, both these teams might, it's early in the season, but they look like they're more in like mid-season form. They're hitting routines, they're sticking landings. Granted, they don't have all their guys healthy and all their guys competing on every event, but very impressed so far with the consistency of both Illinois and Ohio State.
Looking ready for the Big Ten championships in late March.
I'm not sure the coaches would say they are, but they look pretty good for an early season team, early season meet. They look solid, on the right track, no doubt.
The freshman Sean Melton up again. Top 5 in 3 of 4 events last week, and he was 5th overall with a 14.95 on the rings.
Interesting mount right there. I believe he was supposed to do a plunge lower to Maltese. The position was a little questionable on both. I'm not sure how the judges are going to handle that. Another double twisting double. Unfortunately, very short on that landing. Both hands down.
Let's take a look at the scores so far, with the exception of Sean Melton, as we see Johnson, 14.3 for Ohio State. Mayer with a 14.5. Gibbs with a 14.4. Add in Cameron Rogers for the Illini, also had a 14.5. Goodenough and Dunn just under that 14 mark for Ohio State.
Yeah, Illinois kind of chipping away on each one of those routines, gaining a few more tenths, gaining a little bit more ground. I think Cameron's going to also gain more ground on Sean Melton's score, and now it's time for some of the big dogs for Illinois. They really could stretch this lead.
CJ Maestas out of New Mexico, third in the nation on the rings, the 2012 NCAA rings champion.
That is so tough, a back roll right to a Maltese. Like Newberger on horse, CJ on rings is kind of the next level. The other guys are good, but he just takes it up a notch.
CJ says there's no pain in that tricep.
Beautiful. That's so tough. At the end of a routine, a back up rise to a legs together plunge. Another double twisting double. Oh, and almost the stuck landing. It looked like he had it. You see the number 4 on the back of CJ's jersey. He said he picked the number 4 because he's got 3 siblings. There's 4 of them, and he wants to feel like he's not alone out there. And right there, unbelievable back row to Maltese.
Reaction to the dismount by Coach Justin Spring. Watching Maestas at his second meet back from that injury. 15.5 in the rings last week for CJ. We'll see what the number is in just a moment. Drew Moline, one of the captains for the Buckeyes, now up on the rings. He's tied with CJ Maestas for third in the nation on this event.
It's going to be a tough task if he's going to match CJ's score. Has a lower start value, so that means he's got to be cleaner in all of his execution, in his strength hold positions.
John, it was the 2 of them who tied exactly last week at the Windy City Invite.
This is a clean routine also. Really not giving away much. It might come down to whether he sticks this. Ooh, I can't give it to him. I can't quite give it to him. A small hop on the full twist and double layout. It also is pretty piked in the air. Now, it'll be interesting to see how the judges handle that, whether they give him a C or a D dismount. You be the judge at home. How straight is he? Probably straight enough. He pikes it around at the end. Don't think that'll be quite enough to overtake CJ Maestas for Illinois in the last routine, but a great routine nonetheless.
Mike Wilner, the junior out of Buffalo Grove, Illinois. Last spring at the Big Ten Championships. Second place finish with a 15.45 for him in Minneapolis at the Sports Pavilion. He has set records for the Fighting Illini. He had a 15.9 last year. In this meet against Ohio State, he had a 15.8 to win the title last season.
He is one strong individual. And there again, we saw it from CJ. Back roll to Maltese. Followed by a back roll to Cross. Struggling a little bit on that shoot to handstand. Oh, and you can see that dismount, it hung up a little bit. Did not have the rotation right off the rings. Not sure if he pulled into the pike a little early, but it just hung up, and you knew, and he knew too, he was pulling hard to make it to his feet. could see him squeezing that pike, even bent his knees a little bit at the end, but it wasn't going to be enough.
It's not the performance from the All-American that you would expect for Illinois.
Yeah, well, you know, those things are going to happen again early in the season, but other than that, it was a great routine. I asked Mike why he picked 0, by the way, and he said because 00 wasn't available.
His head coach, Justin Spring, wasn't happy with the decision of going with the 0. He's like, come on, we're giving people numbers. You want to take 0? Jake Martin, the sophomore, up for Ohio State, the final routine on the rings.
It's a big opportunity for Ohio State. They can pick up some of the ground that they gave away in the first few routines. They need to, or this meet's going to get out of hand pretty quickly.
Just about a 3-point margin in favor of Illinois through 2 rotations.
This is the very clean routine, not the brute strength that we saw from CJ and Mike Wilner for Illinois. But brute strength isn't always what wins. Got to be clean, you got to swing well, and you got to stick it. Ooh, gave away a couple there, but a good routine. That'll help a little bit for Ohio State, but I do believe Illinois is going to just extend that lead a little bit more after the rings are over with. Look at the 1.5 twisting double back. Tough landing.
We will wait on the scores, the updated overall team scores when we return to Huff Hall. Coming up, we will have the 4th rotation on the vault for Ohio State and Illinois. While watching Big Ten sports, add to the action with BTN Connect. See all the Twitter activity from around the conference, get in-game stats, and interact with our experts. Join your favorite team with btn.com/connect. Get socially charged. Take a look at the results from the still rings for both of these teams. Drew Moling with a high score for Ohio State, 14.75, but CJ Maestas with a 15.4 for the Fighting Illini. Another title on the still rings for Maestas.
It doesn't look like that tricep was bothering him too much, and really that's what the coaches said before the meet. He's not quite as refined or perfected as he was before, but he looks pretty good to me.
And you see the team totals. The Illini still on top, 216.95 to 212.3 of Ohio State. The Buckeyes are going to need to take advantage of the vault and potentially some of the other areas where they are ranked first, including the high bar. They are ranked first in the nation on the vault and also on the high bar. So Rustam Sharapov's team not out of this meet yet. Absolutely not out of it. And Justin Spring alluded to this a little bit. Their last few events are a little bit troublesome. And I talked to him before the competition, and I said to him, is high bar really your area of concern? And he kind of paused, and he kind of had a little smirk on his face. And he goes, yeah, well, high bar and maybe P-bars and maybe vault too. So this is going to be a challenge for them to hold on to the lead. All 7 Big Ten teams ranked in the top 10 nationally. There are 7 programs that have men's gymnastics teams in the Big Ten. Ohio State at 3, Illinois at 8, and 5 of those teams competed at the Windy City Invite last week, where Ohio State and Illinois tied. Logan Melander, the freshman, up first for the Buckeyes on the vault. Both teams will be on the vault at the same time, as we will alternate between the two. Melander is tied for 3rd in the nation on this apparatus, a 15.15 for him last week. And that's pretty good to have a guy with those credentials going up first in your lineup. Ohio State has a start value advantage on this event of about 1.5 points over Illinois. So we alluded to it before. This is where Ohio State needs to start to make a move. Nice double twist. Sukahara with a double twist, small hop in the landing. Really, other than sticking that, there's not a whole lot of ways you can do it better. Logan Melander for Ohio State. You saw him get pumped up and then be polite to the judges and bow, but he was a little pumped up, almost had to contain himself. Yeah, you don't want to scare the judges. I mean, you know, they're going to give you a good score. Just don't scare them out of their chairs there. No, good job from Logan. Melander, the first one up for Ohio State on the vault. And for the Illini, Cameron Rogers, who we have seen throughout the all-around so far. Let's see what he can do on the vault. 2 scores over 14 so far and a 13 on the horse. See what he can do on the vault.
He's got a fairly easy vault, just a single twist. Does it clean, but that's a vault. You know, Cameron's doing the all-around here in this competition today, but whether he upgrades that vault or they put in another more difficult vault, this is a start value that Illinois is not going to want to have when they get to the Big Ten Championships. You can see the round off onto the board, so he's backwards onto the vault. That's a Yurchenko-style vault.
So Rogers, the only gymnast competing all around in this meet between Illinois and Ohio State. Second event of the day for Emmerich Quaid of the Buckeyes, the redshirt freshman. He was on the floor exercise. Now we'll see what he can do on the vault. 14.5 last week for the Buckeye redshirt freshman.
And he should have the same vault that his teammate Logan Melander did moments ago.
John, I asked you before the meet began, a little bit different setup with both teams on the same apparatus. What are your thoughts on that between alternating and being on the same one?
Well, alternating meaning they're on different events and they alternate back and forth compared to both being on the same. I like it when they're both on the same, just because you can kind of get an idea of one guy goes up, then the other guy goes up right after him, and you can really compare those 2 scores to get an idea of who's winning the meet. So it adds a little bit of drama to the competition, I think. Another nice vault, just like Logan's vault, small hop on the landing. However, as we saw him come onto the vault table, I thought I saw a little bit of a knee bend. Watch right here, coming off the board, right there, a little knee bend. It happens real fast in real time, and you can see where the judges are there. They're back there by the landing area, so whether they saw that knee bend or not remains to be seen. But another good vault for Ohio State.
Emmerich Quaid, second for Ohio State on the vault. First up was Logan Melander, who had a 14.7. Cameron Rogers, 14.2 for Illinois. Here is Alex Varga, the senior for the Fighting Illini.
So we're talking about that head-to-head. Alex Varga versus Emmerich Quaid. They're going to have the same vaults. Who does it better? Pretty close. I think Emmerich was slightly better. Alex had a pretty big step on that landing, but those 2 vaults are very comparable. Look at the form coming onto the vault table. Also a little bit of a knee bend, but not too bad. Does keep that foot inside the lines, which is important. Saved himself a 10th. Pump in the chest, baby. He liked it. My motto is if anytime you land on your feet on vault, you deserve to pump your chest. Success.
Danny Steiner now up for Ohio State in the 3rd spot, the junior out of Mesa, Arizona. Saw his execution on the floor with that 14.85. See if he can bring the same thing to the vault.
And he's going to be the 3rd guy from Ohio State to do the same vault. Sukahara with the double twist. He was clean on floor. Can he be clean on vault? Oh, and he waters down a little bit. Only a single twist. So that is going to have a lower start value, only a 14.4. Now, I'm not sure if he decided to water that down mid-vault. You can see right there, just does the one twist. It was a really nice vault. Looked like he could have double twisted that pretty easy to me, but then again, it's easy to say sitting here in this chair. But
Danny Steiner did not compete last week. First meet of the year for him. That'll be Tom Gibbs, the freshman who we saw earlier. 14.4 on the rings. Freshman out of England. Had a 14.8, 3rd best score for the Illini last week.
A little bit of a chance for Illinois to get some pull. Ooh, not a good vault at all. And hopefully he did not just add injury to insult. Take a look at this. It does a 1.5 twist. Very light on his hands on the vault table. And ooh, very lucky he didn't hyperextend his knees coming in.
Been a painful start to the collegiate career of Tom Gibbs.
Yeah, that was.
We talked earlier about the neck. After he came off the still rings and hurt his neck, went to the hospital. That was 6 weeks ago. does appear to be okay, but he's trying to walk things off with his head coach at the moment.
He easily could have hyperextended those knees, and he also could have hit his face right on his knees when he landed. That vault was supposed to be a double twist. As I mentioned, it looked like just was a little light on his hands. And when I say light on his hands, he didn't pop that vault table, didn't punch it hard enough to get the propulsion. I don't even know what propulsion means, but propulsion off that vault table.
Jake Dastrup, the freshman we talked about, to start off this broadcast so far, 14.45 on both events. This is third.
Stepping it up a little bit, a 2.5 twist. Tougher vault. Added a half twist to the vaults we saw from his teammates, Emmerich and Logan, which makes it significantly more difficult. Watch. We see the double twist and then squeak that extra half in, and just scampers back to stay on his feet. Unfortunately, that's going to be a big deduction. It does have a higher start value, but I think he gave away most of that start value taking those steps on the landing.
6 scores we have so far on the vault. Melander 14.7, Varga the 14.5. Your 2 best scores for each of these teams.
Ohio
CJ
State.
Maestas is up on the vault next.
Ohio State just chipping away a little bit on each one of those vaults.
CJ Maestas, the 2012 Big Ten Gymnast and Freshman of the Year before missing last season with the tricep injury. 14.8 for him last week. That was just a 10th off his personal best on the vault.
He's going to do the Yurchenko-style vault again, so round off onto the vault board. He's going to do a double twist. We haven't seen a stuck landing on this event yet, Mike. We saw him on all the other events. Can this be the first one?
Yep.
Not quite. Man, he is just so quick. Just snaps that vault around so fast. Not bad. Teammates like it.
Moments before CJ Maestas, Jake Dastrup, 14.4 for him on his vault. As you said, John, Ohio State trying to gain some ground on Illinois, who has the lead. Drew Mullen.
And you can see his teammates getting amped up behind him, and you're going to see why right here. One of the most difficult vaults in all of collegiate gymnastics. From the time he leaves the vault board until he lands on his feet on the other side, he's going to flip over 3 times. Makes it around, not bad. A little low on the landing, but I tell you what, that is so difficult. It is frightening. Count the flips. There's 1, 2, and here's the 3rd. Does go outside the lines. That'll be a 10th. And I think as teammates and also as the gymnast, you just let out a big sigh of relief. Okay, I survived another one. Good vault from Drew.
Drew Mullen, the junior captain for this Ohio State team. And now on to the freshman Chandler Eggleston. Already has 1 vault title with a 15.25 earlier this year. He's 2nd in the nation on this apparatus.
I mean, he's 3 meets into his collegiate career. I wonder if he's bored with event titles yet. He could get another one here. This is a good vault. He's going to do a 2.5 twist, Yurchenko style vault. I can get it out. It's hard to say, but I'll get there. Here we go. About as good as he can do it. Just that small hop sideways. Again, it's a bit surprising. Another event where you think Ohio State has a chance to gain some ground, to beat Illinois head-to-head on an event, and Illinois is surprising again.
Larry Mayer a year ago in the Big Ten team finals on the vault. Exactly as he drew it up, and he did that last week as well when he tied an NCAA record and tied the school record for Ohio State with a 15.8.
And if you think that double front was good, watch this. handspring pike double front. Steps up the difficulty substantially. 1, 2. Oh, unbelievably hard. Cannot quite get around to his feet. I talked about how incredibly tough the tuck double front is. This makes it exponentially more difficult in the pike position. Just comes up a little shy. This place would have gone nuts, even though we're in Illini country, if he could have stayed on his feet.
Larry Mayer came into this meet first in the nation on vault. And Fred Hartville last year in Minneapolis, he would take home some hardware with this vault, the Big Ten vault champion, the 15.425. Oh, and he also won the national title in the event as well.
He just makes it look too easy. That is way harder than it looks, people. That's what a Big Ten title looks like. There it is again. Other than the step on the landing, almost a carbon copy. Talked to Fred before the competition, and he said that he is working on a triple twist. Maybe we'll see that at the Big Ten Championships. Nice ball. Dare I say, Mike, Eggleston might have just won another individual event title. It's going to be close between him and his teammate Fred Hartville.
We will see Chandler Eggleston with a 15.1. Wait on the score for Fred Hartville. 4 rotations done. The 5th rotation when we return to Huff Hall on the parallel bars. You can always hear from BTN personalities, get programming information, and so much more. Follow BTN on Twitter and on Facebook, facebook.com/BTN and twitter.com/Big Ten Network. And after 4 rotations, as we take a look at the results from the vault, Chandler Eggleston, 15.1, just beating his teammate Fred Hartville, his 5th event title of his young career.
I mean, that's pretty impressive, squeaking it out over the Big Ten NCAA champion. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to learn how to pronounce Chandler Eggleston before this season is over.
I think you got it right there, John.
It's a struggle, but I'm getting there.
So even after what we to go with Tom Gibbs, looked like he was a bit shaken up. He is not done for the day. He said he came out of the hospital with a smile on his face. Well, he's ready to go on the parallel bars.
We did talk about how he is a tough kid, and he did shake that off. It was a violent landing he took on the vault, but good to see him back up on the P-bars. Struggle on that swing to handstand. Oh, and his hands go down. This was an event, again, Justin Spring was concerned about. They are without Joey Peters. He's not in the lineup. He's somebody they rely heavily on, P-bars and high bar. There's the dismount. Ooh, it looked a little awkward. Sideways landing there. He's beating himself up enough today. He does not need to hurt himself more.
Tom Gibbs is listed on the high bar, but unlikely, you think, John, that he would continue to compete?
I wouldn't doubt that kid on anything at this point. He's one tough competitor. It may just have been the way it looked. Sometimes things look awkward, and he's fine. He appeared to walk off without a problem.
We will wait and see on that final rotation whether or not Tom Gibbs keeps it going. As up first for Ohio State, Alex Johnson on the P-bars, the sophomore out of Marysville, Ohio. 14.35 last week on the parallel bars. Personal best of 14.5 overall.
It's pretty much a science project getting the parallel bars ready. I mean, they got sugar water, they got honey, they got just the right amount of spit, throw in a little snot, and you got a perfect set of parallel bars. Very nice. That's called a Bovzar, actually after a former Ohio State Buckeye, Raj Bovzar. Not bad. Good start for Ohio State.
Buckeyes looking for a hit routine on the first chance on the parallel bars.
There's the look at the bobstar right at the beginning. Being able to hang on to the parallel bars, your grip, is one of the most important things on parallel bars. As you'll see throughout this competition, a lot of skills done under the bars. As the body goes under, you're putting all that pressure on your hands, and if you can't hang on, if you don't have a good grip, you have no chance.
John, you talked about the Illini missing Joey Peters on parallel bars and on high bar. Had a chance to talk to him earlier. He does expect to be back for the next Illini meet, just being cautious by not having him out there.
Yeah, and again, it is early in the season. You don't want to take any chances if you don't need to. The Illini obviously being careful with their guys. Got to be healthy at the end of the season if you want to have a shot.
Peters came into this meet ranked 6th in the nation on the parallel bars. And up next, though, for the Illini, Chandler Eggleston. We mentioned he's already won the floor exercise title and the vault title. He could be on his way to his 3rd Big Ten Freshman of the Week award.
Big break. Another extra swing. Good dismount, but unfortunate. A couple extra swings in the middle of that routine. So for Justin Spring, his concern seems to have been warranted. See the front toss and just doesn't quite get enough amplitude. Had to bend the elbows, can't get to the handstand. Anytime you're shaking your head while you're still up on the equipment, that's not a good thing.
3 routines done so far on the parallel bars. The first 2 scores, though, 12.45 for Tom Gibbs, 13.95 for Alex Johnson of Ohio State. Just saw Chandler Eggleston, and now we will see Andrew Rickley, another freshman for this Ohio State team, out of Lewis Center, Ohio, in just a moment up on the P-bars.
And once again, Ohio State comes into this event with higher start values than Illinois. They have not capitalized on that fact in the last few rotations, so they really need to do it here. They're down by about 6 points, I believe, after 4 events, and if they want to catch them, they cannot wait until the last event. They have got to eat away a little bit of that lead on parallel bars. So far, things looking good on that front.
Rickley had the 2nd best score for the Buckeyes last week on this event, tied for 8th overall with a 14.7 in his first collegiate meet.
Diamond and a quarter pirouettes back into the middle of the bars. Good routine. Not the highest level of difficulty, but what he did was done clean. A few hand placements here, there, a step on the landing. Have a look at his stutz to 1 bar, glide up on the side, press the handstand. Good start for the Buckeyes again. 2 routines in the books.
Inside Huff Hall in Champaign, Illinois, and you see the scores after 4 rotations. The Illini up 290.4 over 284.6 of Ohio State. Mike Wolf alongside 3-time Olympian John Roethlisberger as we are in rotation number 5 on the parallel bars. The Illini with the lead looking for another win. They did get a victory against UIC earlier this year, finished second at the Windy City Invite. Now CJ Maestas getting the chant to get him started on the parallel bars, adding this routine to the 4 he did last week, and eventually he'll get back to doing the all-around, hopefully next week for the Illini.
Yeah, and they really need a big routine for him. Unfortunately, he is not going to do his full difficulty. We talked about him coming back from his injury. He's going to do kind of a basic watered-down routine, but they needed him. They didn't have anybody else to put in the lineup, so they had to put CJ in. Beautiful beach sequence. Hard to believe this routine isn't full difficulty. Nice giant double back. And that's what I'm talking about. No dismount. And that's unfortunate. He did a lot of difficulty in that routine. Even though it was short, he packed it in with a lot of cool stuff like this right here. Giant double back, called a bell. You know, ironically enough, talking to Coach Spring, he said his injured tricep doesn't hurt him at all, but he's compensated a little bit in his training, and so his other tricep is a little bit sore. So it's one of those things you really do got to be careful for. If you got an injured ankle, you got to make sure you're not putting too much pressure on the other one, protecting that injured ankle.
Drew Moline at the Big Ten Championships a year ago. 14.3, finished in 8th place in the individual competition on the parallel bars. He has a career high of 14.8 in this event. And Ohio State, if they can get another hit routine here, they will try to build on the lead they have in this event, as they have a point or more advantage when they compare the first 2 gymnasts for each school. So they're making up some of the ground that they lost earlier in the meet.
They are. You know, the first couple guys up, they probably made up over a point.
Apologize. This is Drew Moline from last year in the championships. Moline has been considered the hardest worker for this Ohio State team for quite some time by head coach Rustam Sharapov. That was a year ago, and now a look at Drew Moline here at Huff Hall. The second meet of the season for Ohio State.
That's how the front toss is supposed to be done. Swings it right to handstand. Front 1 1/4. Nice routine. Again, fought through it, had a couple rough spots. But that, again, is going to chip into that Illinois lead. Here's another look at the front 1 1/4. That's one of those skills you feel the next day, no matter how well you do it.
Last year, head-to-head, it was just under a point of difference that decided the result of the winner of this meet between Ohio State and Illinois. This year, Ohio State trying to mount the comeback. Cameron Rogers will be up next on the parallel bars for the Fighting Illini. Rogers competing in the all-round 3 hit routines so far out of 4. Look at him last year in the championships for the Illini, a 5th place finish. Rogers following up Drew Moline. Drew Moline with just a 13.45 for Ohio State.
I'm a little surprised at that. Yeah, he had some minor breaks and had to fight through some parts of that routine, but they definitely nailed him on the execution. Cameron Rogers trying to stop the bleeding for Illinois. Halfway through this event, they've given up points on every routine to to the Buckeyes.
John is an all-rounder. How are those arms feeling at this point in the meet?
Well, normally, as he finishes nicely, normally you should feel okay, but it's early in the season. He has not done all-around much, as we've talked about, so he's probably getting a little bit fatigued, but he trains them all in practice, so it shouldn't be too bad.
Take a look at the scores from the 6 gymnasts we have received their scores, and we see C.J. Maestas 13.65. Best score for the Illini. Rickley with a 14.2 for Ohio State. But the difference, the discrepancy between the two, that's where Ohio State's gaining ground.
Yeah, and I'm a little surprised C.J. Maestas actually scored higher than Drew Moling. We talk about that matchup, one gymnast after the other. And he actually beat Drew Moling by a couple of tenths with kind of a half a routine.
This is Misha Kudnov from last year at the championships, 14.2 for 9th place. He is second in the nation coming into this meet today on the parallel bars. So look at his dismount from the Big Ten championships. And Misha Kudnov going to try to continue to help out this Ohio State team. He has not scored over 14 in his first 2 events. 13.9 on the rings, and Kudnov with a 15.15, which was tied for first place at the Windy City Invite last week on P-Bars.
Misha has an interesting pedigree, born in Russia, moved to New Zealand, competed there for their national team, competed at 2007, 2009 World Championships, and then came to Ohio State. He's been an All-American on this event, and they need an All-American type performance right here. Beautiful handstand. Look how straight that is. Look at his toe point. Textbook. Another front one in the quarter. We saw that earlier. He does it well. Oh, a little mistake. You could see it right from the side. Only one leg actually did the straddle cut. The other stayed in between the bars, which really probably isn't that much of a deduction. Step on the landing. But pretty impressive that he didn't really miss a beat, just kept moving through the routine. Take a look at this. See, one leg goes around the side. The other leg stays right in between the bars. Interesting. And the judges sitting on the side, they might not actually be able to tell because it is a side view. Seeing him from the end like that, we can obviously see that happen, but nice cover.
Well, the Buckeyes would like to match Cameron Rogers, who had a 14.15 on that last Illini routine. Misha Kudnov, we will wait on his score. Up next, Max Mayer for Illinois.
And I think Misha is going to beat that 14.15. Misha has the highest start value of any gymnast on the parallel bars with a 16.1 and did a very clean routine. Really the biggest error being the step on that landing. I don't think the judges are going to hit him for that straddle cut. So Ohio State should bite into that lead a little bit more.
As you see the comparison between the two so far on the parallel bars, Rogers with the best score for the Illini. 14.15 and 14.2 for Andrew Rickley, the freshman for Ohio State, the best we've seen so far today.
Max Mayer working through his routine. Nice combination. Good routine. He packed it with a lot of difficulty. Has a decent start value, about a 15.6. But again, like we saw from Drew Moling earlier, just gave away a little bit of deductions here and there. There's the giant back with a half to the upper arms. There's an elbow bend in the handstand. That's what we talked about, those little deductions here and there, moving the hands, bending the elbows. But overall, a good routine.
Max Mayer, the sophomore for Illinois. trying to keep the Illini close in this event with Ohio State, as it will be Danny Steiner up next for the Buckeyes. And we've seen Steiner so far throughout this meet. He's going to try to build off of what Misha Kudinov. Kudinov had at 14.2, so 2 scores of exactly 14.2 so far for the Buckeyes on the P-bars. And remember, they can throw away one of their low scores. Their low score right now, 13.45 by Drew Mullen.
And Misha did end up beating Cameron Rogers, if you want to consider their back-to-back routines, but only by 0.05. So the judges thought that Misha had about 1 point more in deductions in his routine than did Cameron Rogers.
Danny Steiner, earning Big Ten Gymnast of the Week last year at 1 point, as a personal best of 14.45 on the parallel bars. And this is his first routine on this event of the season.
We talked about it, Mike, earlier in the competition. He's a very clean gymnast. And looking at how the judges are judging parallel bars, they are making sure to take every deduction, an elbow bend, a step of the hand, any kind of rhythm break. They are being very tough on execution, so this may be a chance for someone like Steiner, who's very clean, to put up a big number. Beautiful. You can see how much more fluid he is than some of the other gymnasts. The parallel bars are not making a lot of noise. When you don't hear a lot of noise, that's a good sign. Nice routine from Daniel Steiner. One step on the dismount, but really, there was very little the judges could find in that routine.
As you said, John, very little noise even at the end on the dismount.
Yeah, and that really, it does make a difference, too. As you're sitting there as a judge and you see these guys a little rough and working hard through their routines and hearing a lot of noise, and then a guy like Steiner gets up there and it's fluid, it's smooth, and it's quiet. It does make a huge difference. It makes an impression on the judges.
Danny Steiner for the Buckeyes, junior out of Arizona. Now we go to Jordan Valdez, last man up on the parallel bars for Illinois. Senior representing this Illini team, his second event of the day and his first event at 13.35 on the rings. Valdez finished 5th last week with a 14.95, so potentially a good anchor for this Illini team here on the P-bars.
Yeah, and like Daniel Steiner, he's got great lines, smooth gymnastics, very good on the execution side of the score, but he also has the second highest start value on this event out of any of the gymnasts. But his one potential weakness is if he gets a little bit off, doesn't quite have the physical strength of a CJ Maestas to make that correction and stay on. But when he is on, he does great gymnastics. Beautiful. Very high front 1.25. Great routine. Great finish for Illinois. They had some rough spots along the way on parallel bars, but they finished with a big routine to hopefully for them to keep Ohio State at bay. Here's a look at the front 1.25. Much higher than anybody we've seen tonight.
Teammates pumped up, his coach fired up as the Illini trying to hang on to the lead in this meet. Valdez, another gymnast back from injury, missed all but 5 meets last year, and saw him do well on the parallel bars. Now Jake Dastrup The freshman, as he will close things out on the parallel bars as we await the scores of those two, Jordan Valdez and Jake Dastrup. You see the scores overall between the two of them, and Kudinoff and Rickley both with a 14.2. Rogers still leading the way for the Illini. Illinois knows they have one more rotation after this on the high bar. Chance to hang on to this lead and pull out a victory over a Big Ten rival.
Yeah, so Ohio State, as of right now, before this last routine, looks like they are going to pick up a couple points. Now, a lot of pressure on this freshman because Jordan Valdez certainly is going to get a nice number on that last routine he just did, and Jake Dastrup needs to at least match if he can't beat him.
Fourth event of the day for Jake Dastrup. All of them 14.4 or 4.5. It's the first parallel bars routine of his college career.
So far, this freshman is shown really great poise. But not just poise, aggressive. He's not afraid to get out on the collegiate floor with some of the big dogs. Anchoring, a freshman anchoring the parallel bar lineup for Ohio State. Pretty impressive. Ohio State is needed a stuck dismount at any point in this competition. It is right now. Oh, and he almost does it. Beautiful double pike, one of the best we've seen in the competition. I am very impressed by this freshman class of Ohio State, but in particular Dastrup, who has really answered the bell tonight. Look at the double pike, just pops off the bar. Anytime you see him open up a bar level, that's what you want, and more often than not, he's going to stick that dismount.
We will return with the final rotation at Huff Hall and see if Ohio State has gained enough ground to challenge the Illini on the high bar. Final rotation in this dual meet between Ohio State and Illinois, number 3 team in the nation against the number 8 team in the nation. On the high bar, it'll be Alex Johnson to start things off for Ohio State. He won the high bar title a year ago in this meet with a career-high 15.2.
And Ohio State did close the gap after that last rotation. My elementary math makes it look like about a 4-point lead for Illinois going into this last event. Maybe less. Again, my math is very elementary, but they did close the gap. But one thing to be of note, Ohio State has almost a 3-point advantage in start value on this event.
The advantage is 2.6 points for the Illini over Ohio State.
Thank you for that abacus over there that you have, Mike. So the difference in the team score is basically the difference in start value. So if these teams theoretically both hit the same, Ohio State could take the lead.
Teams hoping to avoid those costly breaks.
One hit down. Alex Johnson comes out again with another hit routine for Ohio State. They are not going away. They were down big early, but they are creeping their way back. Here's his dismount, full twist and double layout.
Take a look at those team scores after the 5 rotations. 355.9 for Ohio State, 358.5 for Illinois.
Wow. You are right, Mike.
That can make a difference.
You are right. Less than 3 points.
It will be Cameron Rogers competing in the all-around, his final event of the day. Can he start off Illinois the way that Alex Johnson started off the Buckeyes?
That age-old question, is it better to be the chaser than the chased? And right now, I think Illinois is feeling a little bit of the pressure.
And as you said, head coach Justin Spring has said that they are not as strong on the high bar as they have been in the past.
Yeah, and I think potentially they can be very strong in this event. But we've talked about it. Some injuries, some things holding them back a little bit. That certainly will change down the road, but this is right here, right now, head-to-head, Illinois Buckeyes, and a big mistake from Cameron Rogers. Take a look at what happened. Looked like he almost missed his hands right there, and then his hand did come off the bar. I'm not sure. You see his hand come off the bar, Mike, and then somehow he actually got it back on the bar, which is impressive, but nonetheless a major break. Take a look. Barely on the bar right there. Then it comes off. Then he gets it back on. Unfortunate break, but thankfully didn't end up flying off into the front row over there.
Cameron Rogers in his first all-around in just about 3 years. This last in February of 2011. This is his last event. Alex Johnson with a 14.2 in that first routine for Ohio State.
Now looking at the start values for Illinois in their defense, this looks like a routine they were hoping to drop no matter what. But again, it's not a safety net anymore. They cannot count that routine. If they end up counting that routine, Ohio State's going to win this meet.
Look back at the parallel bar results for these two teams. In that fifth rotation, Jake Dastrup, 14.85 to close things out for Ohio State. And Jordan Valdez with a 14.4, the best score for the Illini.
Ohio State picking up points on essentially every routine in that rotation. Really what they needed to do if they have any chance of winning this.
Andrew Rickley will be up next for the Buckeyes. We saw him with the 14.2 on the parallel bars. See if we can get another hit routine here on the high bar and continue to put the pressure on the Illini.
You can see Ohio State coaching staff right there making sure that that slip of Cameron Rogers' hands wasn't a problem with the chalk. That was one thing as a gymnast I always made sure I looked at that bar 10 times before I competed. All right, we got enough chalk, right? I'm going to be flying around that thing. The last thing I want to worry about is slipping off, so you want to make sure it's chalked correctly.
Won a high bar title at the 2013 P&G Championships at the junior level last year.
And the first break we've seen from Ohio State since vault. Really, you see it's at Kachev, and he tries to catch with a half turn. I call that the Lynch after Jair Lynch. 92-96 Olympian, and I saw him do that first, and just unfortunate, a little too far away from the bar.
So Rickley will get back up on the high bar and finish his routine.
Does it again, and that is so hard as a gymnast. You got to get back up there and you got to repeat the element that you just fell on, and you know full well you better not miss it twice. And this is a long routine as well. So Ohio State has a break, and really for Illinois, you're breathing a little bit easier there because they just gave them a little bit more of a buffer in that 2.6 lead they had coming into this event. Here's the dismount. This needs to be a fully stretched position, a little formy in the air, but a good finish after that unfortunate mistake for Rickley.
Score from earlier, Alex Johnson, a 14.2 to start things off for Ohio State. And Cameron Rogers, the Illini, we saw that break that he had on 11.05. Tom Gibbs, the second man up on the high bar. He will compete and finish off his day, despite what has been somewhat of a dangerous day for him. We saw him on the vault and then towards the end of his P-bar routines, but to be dealing with some pain, but going to finish off on the high bar.
Yeah, he has been a fighter today, battling through that fall and vault. Not an extreme high level of difficulty, but very clean gymnastics. Nice to watch. Ooh. He tucked that dismount a little bit, which will lower the value of it, but he stuck it. I don't know if he was surprised or what, but he just nailed that. It almost looked like he expected the step, and all of a sudden he thought to himself, wait a minute. I just nailed it. Here's a look at the Tkachev. Here's the dismount. It starts off stretched, but he clearly tucks his legs. And lo and behold, there's the stuck landing. He loves it.
Tom Gibbs for the Illini. Now on to Drew Moline for Ohio State. He had one high bar title a year ago. That was against Michigan, and a 14.5 for him last week. Buckeyes need every single point as this meet draws to a close. Through the 5 rotations, a difference of 2.6 points.
And the story the rest of the way is Ohio State cannot have any more mistakes. Unless Illinois decides they completely want to melt down, Ohio State has to hit every time. Big Tkachev in the stretch position. Comes another one. Love it, old school one-arm giant. That's when you really need to make sure the chalk is on the bar, Mike. One arm. Great fight. Unfortunately, those two skills were supposed to be connected. Not to mention the handstand push-up on top of the bar is going to be a major deduction. There's a stuck landing. I'll tell you what, Ohio State just hanging on by the smallest of margins, trying to keep this close. There's his stretch Tkachev. Watch this right here. Incredible fight. On top of the bar, pushes away, keeps the routine moving, avoids catastrophic deduction. Be interesting to see what the judges do with that.
We will await the score of Drew Moline for Ohio State. We'll move back to the Illini, and Max Mayer up next. Mayer for the Illini, 14.5 in the rings, a 13.4 on the parallel bars. And his third event of the day on the high bar.
There's a Kovacs, big release move. I feel like Max is just riding on the edge on every skill he does, but he's keeping it going. Illinois under pressure, under the siege from the Buckeyes. They answer with a couple back-to-back hit routines.
If my math is correct, coming into those last two routines, it was an advantage of 3/10 for Illinois, and they needed Max Mayer to keep the lead that they had earlier coming into this rotation.
They absolutely did, and there was the Kovacs, the tuck double back over the bar. Now keep in mind, Mike, they did close the gap, but they have an 11.05, Illinois does, that they have to count as of right now, but once they get to that last routine, they'll be able to drop that. So I suspect that lead will extend, but they are in a precarious spot nonetheless.
In the place of Misha Kudinov is Jake Martin for Ohio State. The sophomore taking the spot of the senior, which is a big difference as Ohio State had Misha Kudinov ranked first in the nation on the high bar. That was a score of 15.0 last week, which they could desperately need to try to come back here.
Yeah, you know, I'm not sure the full story of why he's not in the lineup, but it's also their second highest start, actually third highest start value of their team, a 15.9. So they're dropping that, which is unfortunate. But Jake Martin is no slouch, and he's capable of getting the job done. Another big Tkachev right on his fingertips. Oh, and it's just too far away. And that is so unfortunate. That's exactly where you want the releases to be, but just not quite that far. Watch this, right on his fingertips. The second one just a little further and literally a fraction of an inch. There's little things called dowels in those grips. And the first one, the first release move looked like he got the dowels just over the bar. The second one just not quite far enough. Too bad.
You see the scores, and as you mentioned, John, dropping that score from Cameron Rogers, that will be the case for Illinois. So another score, though, upcoming on a miss for Ohio State as Jake Martin, after that fall, will not give the score that the Buckeyes needed.
That's really too bad. In his defense, it's tough, especially on high bar. I think high bar is one of the toughest events to do this on, get thrown into the lineup. But their coaches will tell you, as a gymnast, you got to be ready for it. You got to be ready for any of those last-minute changes. You're called upon. You got to deliver, and just an unfortunate spot for Jake Martin. I mean, all in all, that was really an awesome routine. Clearly that one mistake hurts him, but beautiful gymnastics. Right on the edge gymnastics is what you want to have on high bar, and he did, unfortunately, just a little too far over the edge.
Jake Martin, the last second switch for Misha Kudinov, came in, and he did have the break, but still doing his best in that routine at the end of this meet to take over the spot of the #1 gymnast in the nation on the high bar. Here is CJ Maestas up next on the high bar for the Illini, his 5th event of the day, and the only event that he did not compete on was the pommel horse, which we will see him in next week.
And things look slim for Ohio State to pull this off, but it is not over. Keep in mind, Illinois still has to hit 3 routines. They got 11 on the scoreboard right now. They have to hit. This certainly is not over, as tough as it may seem for Ohio State. Oh my goodness! That was like scrambled eggs in the air. I have no idea how he caught that bar. I mean, talk about a fighter. Talk about a scrambler. That was just silly how he got through that routine. Not one skill, I think, was perfectly on. Watch this release. It's a full twisting, laid out Kovacs over the bar. And watch his hands. He kind of misses the bar at first, and then he's got to re-grab in literally a fraction of a second to stay up there. Outstanding.
CJ Maestas, the leader for this Illini team. They have him back, and when they needed a big routine, they got one from him. As the Illini are hoping to close out this meet after that routine from CJ Maestas. Still 2 more gymnasts up for each team, as it will be Chris Dunn for the Buckeyes. A 5'11" senior from New Zealand we saw once earlier on the rings. He is a 2-time All-American on the high bar.
Ohio State with 2 guys left in this routine has a 16.4 start value on paper. It was supposed to be the same start value that CJ Maestas just put up. They have got to get a big score right here and try to put pressure back on Illinois in those last two routines. Mistake. This was supposed to be connected, did not connect it. Wow, how did he pull that off? What a fighter. His Ohio State teammates are on the sideline, jumping up and down, egging him on, knowing this is their last shot. He tucks the dismount, but that was a decent routine. That's going to hurt his start value a little bit. The combination that he missed early in the routine, that was probably 1/10. And then tucking that dismount at the very end is going to cost him a few tenths as well. But right there, what a fight. Pulling that ganger, that flyaway with a half turn, literally out of no swing. Keeping the Buckeye hopes alive.
Also great for the Buckeyes to have Chris Dunn back after that knee injury that we talked about from last year. A couple score updates for you. CJ Maestas with a 13.6. Jake Martin with a 13.05. As you see the scores that we have thus far, 3 more gymnasts to compete. Chandler Eggleston is up next, the freshman. Let's call him the Big Ten Freshman of the Week again for this upcoming week after winning 2 more event titles so far in this meet. Won the floor exercise, won the vault. Just a 12.5 on the parallel bars, but who knows? Maybe we could have another event title here on the high bar.
It looks like a good bet for Freshman of the Week again. And as we looked at those scores, really the top 3 scores are the ones that you wanted to look at. The bottom scores, the 12 for Ohio State and the 11 for Illinois, will probably get dropped. And if you look at those top 3 scores, it looks like Ohio State, despite some of their mistakes, has chipped away a little bit at that lead, but they're going to need to chip away a lot at that lead on these last 2 routines.
14.25 for Eggleston last week on the high bar.
Almost a catastrophe. Unbelievable. When those around you are falling apart and you can keep your cool, your name must be Chandler Eggleston. That was an outstanding performance, even with this little error right there. Even because of that error, that is something that a pro usually can pull out, but here's a freshman. I will be shocked if he's not Big Ten Freshman of the Week again. Although the other one who's fighting for it is probably on the other team, Jake Dastrup. Those guys are really part of the big story of this competition, in my opinion.
We will not see any more of Jake Dastrup. It's Alex Nork to finish off the meet for Ohio State. But before him, it was Chris Dunn with a 13.6, and have to see if Chandler Eggleston outdid Chris Dunn, the freshman beating the senior. Once we find that score, we will tell you once we get that turned in. And it'll give us a better idea of how the final results will turn out for Ohio State and Illinois.
Wow, they did hit Chris Dunn pretty hard, again, on the execution side of that score, 13.6. I thought that would be in the 14s, maybe a low 14, but I thought that he would be a little higher than that. Chandler Eggleston, I suspect, will be higher than a 14.
Alex Nork at a 14.4 last year as a personal best against UIC on the high bar. Score for Chandler Eggleston, 14.0. Could have solidified it for the Illini.
just did the job he had to do. He got up there, hit a routine, stuck the dismount, tried to squeeze every 10th out of it. Now it's up to Illinois. Here's a look at the dismount. 2/10 bonus for not moving those feet.
Scores, you can take a look at it there. And again, as you said, John, toss out those bottom scores and just compare what you see. Ohio State is making up ground, but will it be enough?
It's going to be tough. If Jordan Valdez, the last gymnast up for Illinois, can stay on his bar, as we look at the 2.6 coming into this event that Illinois had a lead over Ohio State. If Jordan Valdez can stay on the bar, Illinois is going to win this. But keep in mind, when you fall off the apparatus, it is 1 point off in deduction. So if he has a problem and things start to go sideways, it can get bad quickly. And remember, that 11.05, they don't have that cushion. If that 11 was a 12 or a 12.5, this meet might be in the bank already.
Jordan Valdez, 4th in the nation on the high bar, won the high bar title last week with a 15.45.
Oh, and just gorgeous gymnastics. Those two release moves are about as good as you will see anybody doing. Gorgeous. All there is a dismount, and Illinois has got this competition. Beautifully done.
Jordan Valdez potentially locking up this meet for the Illini. Closing off the high bar routine. Another look.
Look at these release moves. High amplitude, perfection in the form. Really the only mistake, and I don't know why he didn't stick it. I mean, you're bailing out from about 10 feet in the air, Jordan. I mean, come on.
The Illini ready to celebrate a win. They tied with the Buckeyes last week at the Windy City Invite. This time it looks like their score will be ahead of Ohio State. We will come back with the final results here at Huff Hall between Illinois and Ohio State when we return. Back at Huff Hall, the results from the high bar. Alex Nork with a 14.3 for Ohio State, but Jordan Valdez capped off the day for the Fighting Illini with a 15.2, and that would result in the victory for Illinois. 428.45, a 3-point win over Ohio State with 425.45.
Yeah, 3-point margin, and certainly Ohio State will look back at the events that they had the advantage in and didn't capitalize, and that to me is the story of the competition.
That is going to do it from Champaign. Of course, right here at Huff Hall on Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern, Iowa takes on Illinois in women's gymnastics. It will be the debut of our new analyst, Olympic gold medalist, Shawn Johnson. Coming up, it's the finale presented by Reese's. For John Roethlisberger, I'm Mike Wolf saying so long from Champaign.